Calving is common at the dozens of glaciers spilling out from the rugged coastline of the Svalbard Archipelago. We are at 80 degrees north, close to the North Pole, yet there is little ice in the water. This is a very recent phenomenon. It's time to leave, but northerly winds have filled the fjord with ice, making our trip back to the ship somewhat treacherous. But our Zodiac driver knows a trick. By pushing a large chunk of ice in front of us, he forms a plow, clearing the ice from our path. Welcome to the Norwegian Arctic. Our journey begins in Oslo, home to one of the most unique opera houses in the world. From there, we traveled by train through Flåm to Balestrand by high-speed ferry. After 2 nights in this lovely town on the fjord, we traveled by boat to Bergen, one of the most charming cities in Norway. Our flight to Longyearbyen in the Svalbard Archipelago took us as far north as humans choose to live. Using the sea spirit as our home, we explored the Norwegian Arctic for the next 10 days. This polar perspective gives you a better sense of just how far north we were. Founded in about 1000 AD, Oslo has always been a trading port, and its Viking heritage is still important. Famous for their shallow draft boats that could navigate rough seas, these seafaring North Germanic people raided, traded, explored, and settled wide areas of Europe and the North Atlantic. There are more than 212 bronze and granite statues called the Vigeland sculpture arrangement in Frogner Park. Gustav Vigeland, who died in 1942, occupies a special position among Norwegian sculptors, both in the power of his creative imagination and in his productivity. He also designed the Nobel Medal. Most of the statues depict people engaging in various typically human pursuits, such as running, wrestling, dancing, hugging, and holding hands. Many, like the famous monolith, depict human misery. 121 figures are carved into this solid piece of granite. A highlight for us was a visit to the Oslo Opera House, which opened to the public in April 2008. The roof of the building, which won international awards, angles to ground level, creating a large pedestrian plaza. The angles and paving materials are also skateboard friendly, allowing skateboarders to use some areas. It's time to leave Oslo for our trip to Balestrand, located on the Sonja Fjord, Norway's largest. We're traveling by train to Myrtle, through the snow-covered mountains west of Oslo. Here, we'll switch to the famous Flam Railway, the steepest standard gauge railway in Europe, traversing through 20 tunnels and an elevation loss of almost 3,000 feet. From Flam, we'll board the high-speed ferry to Balestrand, passing by the many pristine villages that line the fjord. Geologically, a fjord is a long, narrow inlet from the sea with steep sides or cliffs. A fjord is created in a valley carved by glacial activity. The coast of Norway is dotted with fjords. Built in the 19th century, the Calving Hotel is one of the most famous buildings in Balestrand. The Calving family, who owned the place, took it over in 1877. Since then, the establishment has undergone constant development, which continues to this day. There are many new buildings, and remodeling and expansion projects have been carried out without diminishing the distinctive architecture and charm of the Swiss chalet-style complex. Calving Hotel was made popular for European visitors in the early part of the 20th century by Kaiser Wilhelm II, who often visited here during his summer vacations prior to World War I. In fact, he was in residence here when war was declared. The city of Bergen, with a population of about 260,000 people, is the second largest city in Norway. Founded in the 11th century, it rose to prominence as a major Hanseatic trading port in the 14th century, centered in the historic section of Bergen. This is a charming city, with cobblestone streets in the old section and a bustling, thriving port in the center of the city. Bergen's major tourist attraction is the funicular, which takes visitors up 1,000 feet to the top of Fjorden. Here we can get a good view of this ancient trading port. It's time to leave the mainland and head north to the town of Longyearbyen in the Svalbard Archipelago. This is a bleak outpost at the top of the world. Originally established as a coal mining town, and now the getaway to the Norwegian Arctic. Welcome to the world's most northern city, boasting the world's northernmost church, ATM, post office, museum, commercial airport, and university. It was founded by an American, John Longyear, in 1906, along with the Arctic Coal Company. Coal was transported from the mines to the port using an aerial tramway. Because of the permafrost, the town is built on stilts. The stilts, or piles, keep the building away from the active layer to prevent flooding and sinking. Our home for the 11 days we spent in seas surrounding Svalbard was the Sea Spirit. Unlike the boats they sent to Antarctica, this is not an icebreaker. There is no need, since summer ice has been gone from these waters for many years. In fact, experts predict that summer ice will disappear completely from the North Pole in 2 to 3 years. A Russian captain and international crew from 19 nations provided excellent service to the 90 passengers on board. After each day, we gathered for drinks in the clubroom and dinner in the dining room. And our suite was not too shabby, featuring an elegant bedroom and comfortable living room with Blu-ray player, private bar, and plasma TV.
Well, I think it's partly because I seem to get a chance to spend time up there before breakfast. Also, we're often sailing.
The waves are rough today for our landing on a beach where whalers once made camp 400 years ago. Most days, we go on shore for a walk, looking for wildlife, human artifacts, or just to get some exercise. These are the remains of huge metal pots used to render whale blubber into oil. As noted on the plaque, this was once the site of a Dutch whaling station, dating back to 1614. Since whales feed here only in the warmer summer months, the camp was not inhabited in winter. Some of the terrain is moraine, which is crushed stone pushed downhill by the glacier, and some is permafrost, which is spongy under our feet. We are on a mission. Reindeer have been spotted on the mountainside, so Fred needs to haul his camera and tripod up the steep slope. Anything for the shot. Well, we're rather disappointed. This looks nothing like Rudolph. Actually, the Norwegian reindeer is the same animal as the caribou of Canada, and they shed their heavy coats during the summer months. Rudolph did not originate with Walt Disney. The Christmas story actually comes from Lapland. Reindeer hooves adapt to the season. In the summer, when the tundra is soft and wet, the foot pads become sponge-like and provide extra traction. In the winter, the pads shrink and tighten, exposing the rim of the hoof, which cuts into the ice and crusted snow to keep it from slipping. Kittiwakes, which are members of the gull family, are coastal breeding birds, ranging in the North Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic Oceans. They form large, dense, noisy colonies during the summer reproductive period and are the only gull species that exclusively nest in cliffs. Nice shots. There are about 60,000 mating pairs of guillemots nesting on these cliffs. They make no nest, but deposit their eggs directly on the bare rock ledge. 20 days after the chicks hatch, they glide to the water and begin diving for food, even before they learn to fly. They typically dive to 200 feet and swim around in the cold water foraging for cod, herring, squid, and crustaceans. They first breed at 4 to 6 years old and live an average of about 20 years. Other common Arctic birds include the red phalarope, common eider, and black guillemot. In the murky waters where walruses feed, sight is of no use, so they rely on touch when looking for food, employing their long whiskers. Any prey, no matter how deep it is buried in its den, is dug up using water jets from its nostrils. Walruses, like other marine mammals, have special adaptations to help conserve oxygen while diving. They slow their heartbeat, and their blood is pulled away from parts of the body that do not need high oxygen levels. The tusks are 1.5 feet long in females and 3 feet long in males. During competition for females, males will show off their tusks. If the tusks are similar, they will fight and the weaker one will cede. Adult male walruses form concentrations on the beaches. This happens from May to October, when there is no wind and the temperature is warm. Inside the colony, the younger males stay at the periphery, and the older males stay in the center. Like many marine mammals, walruses exhibit delayed implantation of the fertilized egg, forcing birth to occur during the warmer spring season. The newborn is about 4 feet in length and suckles for 6 months before foraging for food. So, we're near the end of the video and no polar bears. Here's the story. Shooting from the ship, Fred could use a tripod and 750mm telephoto lens to get a fairly steady shot. But the bears were too far away, more than 1/4 mile. One morning, we spotted 2 bears from the Zodiac. Not a very stable platform for shooting video. This somewhat scrawny female was resting at the edge of a small peninsula, trying to get some rest. The large, healthy male on the other side of the hill went in for a swim. Of course, I was able to snap a few good shots, since the distance was quite close. That's it for polar bears. And yes, we were disappointed in the wildlife viewing. "68% of the Earth's fresh water is locked up in glaciers and ice caps. At the accelerated rate of melting we are now experiencing, scientists predict that almost all of Norway's 1,600 glaciers will disappear in the next 100 years, with similar predictions for the world's other glaciers. Sea ice in the Arctic is experiencing an even faster rate of melting since the exposed blue sea absorbs much more heat from the sun than the reflective surface of the disappearing ice. The prognosis for polar bears, which depend on sea ice for their very existence, is not good. We were fortunate to have been able to explore this most northern part of our planet and to share our experiences with you.